Okay, I unmuted and we are streaming online.
Chair Burrs?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
We have our new commissioner here and we have the oath of office. Do you want me to send that to you? Or is it okay for Colt to do that?
Have Coach do it. I had made myself a note to ask whether or not that had been done, but have Coach do it.
Thank you.
Push her speaker for standing. So have them sit right there.
Yes, that'd be great. I think that's the best.
Cedric.
Yes.
Good morning.
Unless you want to do something different.
It's the best.
Good stuff for us.
Well, I'm gonna swear in Commissioner Gaines.
Oh, yeah. John, have a seat there. Let's get your chair.
There's a chair up here. On this chair. There you go.
I think you can just, yeah, just have some there.
Morning, Pastor Gaines.
Good morning.
Good morning to all.
Good morning.
Good morning, Frank. Is that Doris with her new outfit? I'm counting 5 commissioners so far. Am I missing somebody?
I count 6.
What? I said it again, Cynthia.
I thought I counted 6. Hold on, let me do it again.
That's it.
I count 6 with Reverend Gaines.
Who am I missing? I'm missing somebody. I see Commissioner Henry, Commissioner Sarr, Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Gaines.
Worth, Commissioner Worth.
Okay, I guess I don't see him on my screen. But anyway, so we have enough. I guess the first item I want to do, first of all, is to welcome Commissioner Gaines to the commission. In terms of where we go, and I think the first thing I'd like to do is have Coach swear him in, and which will make him official.
Pastor Gaines, you might stand up. Raise your right hand. And repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky,
and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky,
so long as I continue a citizen thereof,
so long as I continue a citizen thereof,
and that I will faithfully execute to the best of my ability
and that I will faithfully execute to the best of my ability
the office of Commissioner of the Kentucky Commission on Human Rights,
the office of
Commissioner of the Kentucky Commission on Human Rights,
the office of Commissioner on the Kentucky Commission on Human Rights,
according to law.
according to all,
And I do further solemnly swear
and I do further solemnly swear
that since the adoption of the present Constitution,
that since the adoption of the present Constitution,
I, being a citizen of this state,
I, being a citizen of this state,
have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within this state,
have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within this state,
nor out of it,
nor out of it,
nor have I sent or accepted a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons,
nor have I
sent or accepted
Sent or accepted a challenge to fight a
a duel with deadly
duel
weapons,
with deadly weapons,
nor have I acted as second in carrying a challenge,
nor have I acted as second in carrying a challenge.
nor aided or assisted any person thus offending, so help me God.
One more time.
Nor aided or assisted any
Nor
person
aided or assisted any person
thus offending, so help me God.
thus offending, so help me God.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Gaines, you're now official. And again, I want to welcome you to this commission. We're going through a process of, I won't say redefining, but refining our role of the commissioners. And I think having you on board in terms of your experience, background, and all that would be very helpful as we work through this process. And what I will ask is for each of the members of staff, as you give your report, introduce yourself and also say what your role and responsibilities are prior to giving your report, which will be very helpful to it. So with that, I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask the executive director for confirmation of a quorum and confirmation of public notice.
We have a quorum and public notice was sent.
Okay, and next item, any requests for public participation?
Yes, we do have a guest with us this morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Chair. In our last meeting, I was asked to have speakers to address to the commission. So we have the honor to have two outstanding individuals in the state of Kentucky to give a short presentation to educate us about their work. So first, we're gonna have Mr. Johnson, Executive Director of the Henderson Human Rights Commission. Then we will also have Mr. John Koehlinger, the Executive Director of the Kentucky Refugee Ministry. He's going to share a little bit information about his agency and the work he does and his agency do. Kentucky refugees and immigrants in the state. So I will let Mr. Johnson go first. I believe that he has other commitments this morning.
Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, good morning to Director Fox and Director Burst and all of the state and all the those that are participating. Thank you for this invitation, and I'm honored and humbled to be able to share the things that are taking place here in Henderson County Human Rights Commission. I'm Reverend Charles Johnson. I've been the Executive Director for the Henderson Human Rights Commission, going on about coming into my seventh year. So I'm thankful for all that everybody does around our state and what we do here in the at the local office. I am a one-man office, so I do all the investigation, I do the intakes, I do the janitorial work, I do the assistance work. So whatever it takes to keep the office going is just me, myself, and I do have a board of 7 commissioners for the Henderson Human Rights Commission. 3 of those are appointed by our local mayor. As you guys are familiar with Henderson, Henderson is a city within a county. So 3 of our commissioners are appointed by the mayor that serve at a discrepancy of 3-year term. They can, after that 3-year term is up, they can continue to serve if they wish, still have to be reappointed. The other 3 commissioners are appointed by the judge executive, which is the county government. And then that 7th seat is a joint appointment agreed upon by the judge executive and the mayor. We try to always include, it's not always feasible, but we've been blessed to have a Corden, Kentucky, representative. Corden is just kind of a little town right outside of Henderson, just down the road, not even really 10 miles. So that 7th person we try to pull from Corden if possible. This office here deals with unfair eviction. That is probably the majority of my intake complaints here. Each year, I give my annual report to the city government, as well as the county government and any other agencies that calls me in. It's I present that report. I think last year's numbers were I took it about 86 complaints in the office. Now, certainly we have more concerns than that, but in terms of the complaints itself, I think it was somewhere around 82, 86. What I do, I put together that report, break down the demographics of that report, share it with our HUD representative here in our area. So we deal with a lot of unfair eviction, handling those matters. I've been participating in some regional with the Hopkinsville Human Rights, along with the Owensboro now that they have a director. Been talking about the landlord-tenant laws for their area. We don't have that here in Henderson. So kind of just been working with them to see what that looks like, to see if I want to take that before Henderson to work on that for the landlord and tenant laws ordinance. Deal with unfair employment practices with our industry. As you know, Henderson is a very industry-related town. That is the majority of the work here, from manufacturing to the local mom and pop local facilities on up to some of our major facilities here in our area. Do my best to try to keep a rapport with all of those agencies, from the Henderson Economic Development when they have their local yearly meetings and things like that. They do invite me to that to say who I am, what I do represent. Here, I think with the last election that we've had, I've just kind of decided when I do get an employment matter into the office, I just write it up, send it on to the state, and ask the state to kind of look at it and review it instead of I've had a few this year, and I think I've written those up and maybe sent those up to the through the state portal, or I have assisted the person that I've been working with getting on the state portal and sending that up. We have a very big homeless coalition. I'm the president of the homeless coalition here in our area. Since we have instituted that homeless coalition, I think that's kind of helped my numbers kept my numbers down in terms of we've seen a lot of people go to the homeless coalition office for eviction notices. They try their best to direct them here. We have partnered with the Daniel Patino shelter out of Owensboro, Kentucky, which is has a big shelter there, as well as the Boulware Center. So Henderson now has its own case manager, has its own office. We were able to partner with our local housing authority, who designated us an office space for that case manager to work out of, which is right down in the heart, as we say, the low-income area. So we've seen a significant increase in our homeless coming through. And I know we can all take a whole day to describe and break down homeless. Basically, we've even had to revamp that because, people were basically utilizing that as a means of, hey, I heard you guys are giving away money. I heard you guys are giving away money for rent, rental assistance, utility assistance. And so, but we're thankful for the relationship that we have with our homeless coalition. That office is solely funded by our county as well as our city. So we go before them probably quarterly to make a presentation to justify the resources that they've allocated for that. Now, we know with everything else, we don't know how that's going to look a year from now. So we just continue to do what we can and when we can and how we can. We do a lot of community education here. The fair housing, in terms of budget, my commission and myself will participate in whatever the state provides for us in terms of fair housing. Also, thankful enough to participate over at Evansville's Human Relations Office, their fair housing. They really bring in a lot of the national speakers from EOC, from HUD, from the National Realty Organization that they have every April, and they do extend that invitation to us. So we're able to go over there and get that training from right across the river here in Evansville. For their fair housing, along with whatever the state. And then also there's been times I participated in some of the other national fair housing that comes our way. We do town talks. We've done a couple of town talk engagements here in our community. One of them focused on police data driven forum, which we partnered with our local law enforcement along with the sheriff department, talk about the data that they use and how they distribute that data and how they use that data in the tri-state here in Henderson. So that was a very, very good town talks that we had. When we do our town talks, those are open to our local citizens, so anybody can come. We take that to the heart of the city and have a public forum. So it was great information, and they shared about crime and how they administer that and how they share that data. Also, we did a workforce development that targeted our high school students, if not college, then what? That was the title of the town talks. We partnered with our Henderson Economic Development, Henderson Community College, along with our career technical education program out at our high school, and open that up to the high school students and parents to come and talk about the just the opportunities that we know most students are not going to the four-year institutions upon graduation. So we really hit the community college. Also, we had the union representatives there talking to the students about what they're looking for and the soft skills, hard skills that employers are looking for. So we was really proud of the community town talks that we've been able to put together, along with just participate in other local entities going on around our tri-state. Just coming back here, and I'm still off schedule. Just coming back from Anchorage, Alaska, where I was able to attend the International Association of Official Human Rights Agency. So Kentucky was representative. Mr. Ray Sexton and the Lexington office was present, along with the Henderson office, due to HUD restraints, HUD cuts that impacted some of our other agencies around the state that are normally there at that conference. It was a great conference. Originally, it was scheduled to be in Philadelphia in August. For some matter, Philly had to cancel it. And so Anchorage picked it up, Alaska. And when I say that they really just rolled out the red carpet in a short amount of time, it was just a wonderful, wonderful low-key conference, I think. There were some entities, agencies that were not present, like HUD was not present. I don't think EEOC wasn't present. But it was just a tremendous conference, very educational, beneficial, and everybody came with the same concerns and questions, and left motivated and inspired to continue the work that we're doing, not only from the national, but the state, as well as the local offices. We'll be participating this Friday in the Evansville Human Relations Commission dinner that they'll be having over in Evansville. All of our commissioners will be attending that. That's a real good event that they have every year. Be it going down to Hopkinsville next week for their Unity breakfast here in a few weeks. I don't know, I forgot the date on that, but we'll be attending that. What we do here, we try to do our best to support the local agencies around us. Where I'm located at, I'm just 45 miles going south, be in Hoptown, 30 miles going east, I can be in Owensboro, and 7 miles, I can throw a rock and hit the Evansville Human Relations office. So very centrally located. So we do our best to try to support one another in their endeavors. We're preparing for our Dr. Martin Luther King Day of Celebration event, January in 2026. We don't have our speaker yet, but that's a great annual event that we've had since I've came aboard, and it really draws a lot of our community people from the local government and even some of our local representatives, and just well attended. We've had great, strong speakers like Dr. Kevin Cosby. We've had last year we was able to have the Honorable Mayor Stephanie Terry, the first appointed woman mayor of Evansville, as well as African American woman of Evansville to be appointed mayor of the city there. Our last 2 years, unfortunately, our program was canceled in person because of the weather, but because we buy the radio time for the event, WSON, who broadcasts live our program, our speakers have been able to come into the studio and just do their speech and talk and do kind of like a little fire chat setting. So hopefully we're keeping our fingers crossed this year we can be in person if weather is permitting. So with that, that's kind of a little brief synopsis of what Henderson does, and we do more, but we stay busy. You know, I'm proud of the work that's been done here at the Henderson office. Certainly, we're always trying to improve and meet the needs of people. Sometimes, you know, I always leave at the end of the day wondering, you know, have I done enough to meet the needs of people and certainly clients? And but we work hard to establish a rapport here in Henderson to try to keep things fair and to let people know that everyone should have an opportunity, free and clear of any discrimination, and those who want to apply and better themselves. So we're thankful for the work that we do here.
Thank you, Reverend Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank
so
you.
next-
Reverend Johnson, thank you for that. Is any commissioners, any questions for Reverend Johnson? Okay, again, thank you, and thank you for the cooperation and the work that you're doing with it. I welcome Reverend Gaines, but I didn't give him an opportunity to say anything. So I want to backtrack and say, Reverend Gaines, anything you'd like to say to the commissioners on your very first meeting?
Just good morning, everybody. Appreciate the welcome that I've received and hospitality. I entered this with some trepidation because my former pastor, late Reverend Thurman Coleman Sr., served on the commission years ago. That's how I became acquainted with the Human Rights Commission here in the state of Kentucky. And so I'm walking in big shoes. So, but thank you again.
Okay. Again, thank you for agreeing to fulfill the role that's there. And as you say, that I think we all stand in the shadow of Thurman Coleman and the work that he did across this community and across this state. And you know, I could, you know, with the environment we're now living in, I could hear him saying some choice things about what's going on. So again, welcome. Our first item of business is the approval of the minutes for the September 18th meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Worth. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Chair.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes stand approved. We now move to our section reports, and we'll begin with the executive directors.
First, we have
Yes.
another guest present today.
I guess what I was following was on the agenda, you have him down lower on the agenda.
Okay. He said he's flexible, but Doris said she has a
What?
question about the minutes.
I'm having a hard time hearing you all. We're not picking up the sounds of the room very well with the microphone.
Commissioner Sarr says she has a question about the minutes.
Oh, okay, just back then. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Go, the commissioner.
Yes, I wasn't at the last meeting and I was noticing in the minutes it mentioned 4 meetings per year. Is it, and then someone mentioned, okay,
There's 4 meetings for calendar year 2026 that will be outside of Louisville.
okay,
We're keeping the same number of meetings for the year, so it'll
Okay.
still be 10 meetings. No meetings in July and December.
right,
4 meetings will be outside of Louisville.
okay, and others will be,
Yes.
We had discussed the idea,
just the way it was worded.
yeah, we had discussed the idea of limiting the amount of meetings and we decided in her better judgment against it.
Right, okay, but just
Yeah.
the way it was written, I didn't get that understanding. Thank you.
Any other questions relating to the minutes? Any other clarifications needed? Okay. Hearing none, then we'll move to the executive director's report.
Good morning, all. I wanted to start out this morning and letting you know, as may be expected, we have not heard a lot from our federal partners, but I wanted to congratulate the enforcement unit staff and SANA from mediation and their supervisor, or the enforcement supervisor, Cedric Irving, for not only completing and meeting the HUD contract for fiscal year 25, but also the EEOC contract for fiscal year 2025, the federal year. We have not heard anything about our submissions and what all has been approved, but as of September 30th, we had submitted well over the 150. We had submitted 164 employment cases. And this is with the assistance of tenured staff, Chad Stratton and Wanda Melvin, and also Cedric was actually doing investigation and processing cases. So I want to thank them for that. As Reverend Henderson mentioned, we did not attend the IORA conference, and mainly because we were told that would not be covered. As he mentioned, it was rescheduled from September, which we had prior approval to go to that conference when it was in Philadelphia. They then pushed it back, and since it happened in the next fiscal year, they informed us not to expect, they would not be giving us reimbursement or paying for that conference. So we did not attend that one. We hope to get back in the game and attend in the calendar year of 2026. I also wanted to mention really briefly to all of you that next month, the last commission meeting for this year, we will presenting to the commissioners the calendar year 2026 action plan or work plan. And within that plan are several things. One of the things will be acknowledgement of 60 years of the Kentucky Civil Rights Act. And we're planning to acknowledge that with a legal symposium. Also in 2026, we will be having the Kentucky Civil Rights Hall of Fame. We'll be requesting nominations and induction ceremony. We're open to suggestions as far as a location. And we'll let you know, Juan Pena will let you know as soon as possible when the nominations will start with that. Also, we will be continue to unveil Gallery of Great Black Kentuckian posters, but there's also a new poster series that will be introduced, and that's the Newcomer poster series, where we'll acknowledge people who have made a difference in human and civil rights in Kentucky. So that's going to be coming in calendar year 2026. And And again, as we said to Doris, we will be having 4 commission meetings outside of the Louisville area next year. Maria will be reaching out to commissioners via email, asking for any suggestions that you may have. If you're in those areas for a place for the commission meetings, and also for suggestions as far as lodging is concerned. So you will be hearing from us regarding that. In personnel issues, Cedric will introduce his new people, but I want to take this opportunity to welcome Frank Hardison and Shelby Ledford, who joined our staff recently. I also, is with a heavy heart that I say that staff attorney Sana Abari will be leaving our agency. Her last day will be, it says in my report, October the 17th, but she will be here until October 24th. And I just want to wish her well, and there will be a huge gap in our agency with the loss of Sana. She's promised to keep in touch though, so that's a good thing. Regarding the cases, 21 cases were submitted for executive director review and approval since the last commission meeting. 14 of those cases were employment, 6 were housing, and 1 was public accommodation. Of the 14 employment cases, 8 were no probable cause, 5 were withdrawn with settlement, and 1 was withdrawn without settlement. Of the 6 housing cases, 4 were no probable cause and 2 were conciliated. And then we had 1 public accommodation that was no probable cause. And we had a poster unveiling. Are there any questions at all so far on my report? We had a poster unveiling on September 24th, 2025. It was our 65th Gallery of Great Black Kentuckians poster, and it was unveiled featuring former Kentucky Commission on Human Rights Executive Director John Johnson. The unveiling was held at the annual NAACP State Conference in Orangeboro. And Juan will tell you a little bit more about the roundtable. And as was mentioned before, staff will be attending the Hopkinsville Unit Breakfast that occurs next Thursday, I believe that it is. Any questions regarding my report?
Any questions for the executive director? Okay, hearing and seeing none. Move on to budget and personnel. Brandon.
Good morning. You have my report before you. I will draw to your attention that we have submitted our branch budget request to the Office of State Budget Director and the Legislative Research Commission, and I will keep you all updated on the status of that as it goes through the process with the upcoming session. I'd love to take any questions at this time.
Question for Brandon, because I have a couple. Any questions from anyone? I guess 2 things, Brandon. I guess the monthly financials in terms of our operation was not in the package. There was a reason for that.
The monthly, my monthly report that usually
yes, that's in here that shows what expenditures and expenses have been incurred on a monthly basis in terms of.
Must have just been an omission. No, I've got it in front of me.
I don't know. Am I only somebody that missed that?
No, it's not in the book.
Okay.
It's the spreadsheet.
No,
I can
noticed it as well.
Yeah, I can send that out today.
Okay. Okay, that's one. The second one relates to really the role of the commission. I think we talked somewhat briefly about the budget request, what the process was, and all of that. To tell us that the budget request has been submitted without more details or involvement, I think I, as a commissioner, I don't know what about the rest of them, would like to know more about that so that we can be engaged with, if we have to be engaged with the governor's office in terms of his budget request, we can do that. If we have to be engaged with legislators around the state, we can do that. It's a question of utilizing the talent and expertise of the commissioners to advance what our role and responsibilities are. And so I for one, would like to see more and know more about what was in the budget request. We've talked about our staffing levels. We've talked about areas in which we like to expand. I know there are constraints in terms of budget guidelines that are sent down, but I think we as a commissioner would like to, at least I would like to know more about that.
Sure. So it was pretty standard. The baseline was pretty standard. We requested 3 positions in our additional budget request. Here, I can pull those up on the screen.
You gonna send them copies?
Yeah, I've got copies available here today, hard copies, and we'll definitely send out the digital version. Let me share my screen. Share screen. There it is. Right. Can everybody see that? Well,
Can you make it bigger?
yeah. I I'm not sure why it's showing so small. So you see the operating budget request priority ranking summary? Are you?
Yes.
It's just is it small? Is that you're having trouble seeing it?
I can see it larger here on my
Okay.
screen.
And here it is for those in the room. So we have for the last 3 budgets that I've been here requested multiple positions. We have received 0 additional funding for any positions, but we continue to hope for additional positions. We requested the first thing was so the defined calculations and the annual salary increment. It's standard. It is what it is. It comes from the governor's office, and we have to use that as our priority ranking 1 and 2. So really, we're going to start with priority ranking 3, and that's the first request, and that was a human rights compliance enforcement officer. I could only briefly discuss the need, but it seems like that is where the greatest workload is needed right now. And then we also requested an office support assistant that would assist with mail and front desk and other office tasks. And finally, an information officer one that would hopefully allow us to begin to issue more reports and do more research and analyze data and possibly engage via social media more. So those are the 3 positions we requested. We'll see what happens. We're gonna try to make our case that all of those are crucial to us fulfilling what is outlined in KRS 344. Other than that, the baseline is pretty standard. Just keep all the positions that we have and continue our operating costs at the same level as they have been.
Is there a narrative available around those 3 positions, what
There
they
is.
are and what they you don't need to do. What I'd like you to do is send that to all of the commissioners so we know at least what we're asking. If we run into folks, we can share what we
Sure.
or at least what we think about it. But I think that would be helpful.
Yes, there is a narrative around each one of those additional requests, and I will make sure you all have those today.
Any other questions from any other commissioners as it relates to the budget and the financial report? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to Sana.
Good morning, everyone. You do have my report before you. This is my last report, and it does say that there are no cases in which scheduling is in process and no cases currently scheduled for mediation. I do have 3 cases pending and 2 that were resolved, resulting in $39,000 in total settlement for the last 4 weeks. With respect to the 3 pending cases, I thought it was fitting that on Boss's Day, we do have both executive directors of the Kentucky Refugee Ministries and the Kentucky Commission for Human Rights, my soon-to-be former employer and my soon-to-be employer sitting side by side. I want to thank both of them for their support and also for allowing me to start a KRM a week later so that I can tend to these 3 pending cases and hopefully have a good outcome for Cedric. I did want to take a few minutes just to say thank you, of course, to Cynthia and Cole and all the managers, Juan and Cedric, and but most importantly, our investigators and intake. The bulk of the work here falls on them. I do think they are underpaid positions, and given the parties they often have to assist, it can be a thankless job. And so if any of them other than the ones here are listening, just want to stress how important their work is and how appreciated they are. And just a few notes on my time here at the commission. Having come from the public defender's office, it took me a while to understand the gravity of the violations of the KCRA facing our complainants, having previously been serving clients who were facing life in prison or lengthy sentences, and victims dealing with mourning the death of their loved ones. But this is important work. Our homes and our careers are tied to our dignity and our existence. And no matter where I go, I'll always have the vision and the mission of the commission at the forefront of my mind. And lastly, in hearing our new commissioner Gaines's oath, I always get a little emotional hearing any oath, because I think back to the oath I took when I became a citizen. And so I was 14, and even though I am going into a field where I haven't practiced at all, the immigration cause has always been in me. And so there have been little fires everywhere. They're all just burning a little faster. And so I'll definitely miss the commission. This is a place where despite what issues may arise, there's heart here. And I look forward to a new chapter, but I'll certainly miss the commission as well.
Thank you, Sana.
If you feel comfortable sharing, what is the next incredible thing you're going to do for the Commonwealth?
I'll be starting as legal director with the Kentucky Refugee Ministries.
That's awesome.
That's some comment I made about both offices.
Yeah, I get it now. Missed that. We're very lucky.
Any additional questions for Sana?
Destiny's poaching?
Just wanted to thank Sana for her service to the commission, to all of us, and thank you for your spirit of service also. Sometimes the spirit is not there when service is, and you've manifested both consistently, and appreciate all the reporting you've done and your diligence. So thank you. And as vice chair, I just wanted to express my personal appreciation to you.
Here, here. Sonia, thank you for everything that you've done. You've been excellent, and I know you'll be sorely missed by the staff and by the commission.
Thank you.
Just echo a thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Sonny, after our last conversation at the last meeting, the last thing I expected coming in this meeting was you to announce that you were departing. But again, I understand when opportunity knocks, we have to take advantage of those. I think that the work that you have done, the engagement in which you have developed into has been very important in terms of moving the agenda of the commission forward, and particularly as it relates to mediation. And let me say, my personal thanks for the work that you've done. You're not going far, but always know that we admire the work you've done and appreciate all the things that you've done for the commission. So good luck in your next step in life.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate it.
Yeah. With that, let's move to the enforcement report.
I just want to say, Sana, you will be missed. I don't know why my report had to come after that, but will be missed. And yeah, I greatly appreciate everything you did, including mediations, closing cases, those were counted as closed cases towards the work share agreement with the EEOC. And so you will be missed. I also want to take the chance to happily introduce Frank and Shelby. Frank and Shelby, they are our new investigators. They are right here. One started 2 weeks ago, the other one started a week ago, and I'm happy they are here. They already have cases, they're already getting going, so I'm elated about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry. Introduce yourself.
Thank you, commissioners. Just glad to be here. I'm Frank Hardison, and thankful for the opportunity to be able to serve in this capacity.
I'm Shelby, and I really do appreciate this opportunity.
All right, so I'll go ahead and get going. And just for clarity, compliance enforcement officer is an investigator. So one of the positions that's being asked for, that's an investigator. I call it investigator, but that's the rightful name of it, as a compliance enforcement officer or one position. So with Sana sadly leaving, the cases now would not go through a funnel through mediation. So it goes directly to the investigator now. That's employment and public accommodations. So that will jump numbers up as far as what they have all together, not the cases that the agency has as a whole, but as the investigators have individually. Our cases are jumping up, period, in a sense. So we're working as hard as we can to investigate cases in a timely manner. So I just want to throw that out there. We are getting slammed pace-wise. But I want to say that housing has maintained 168 days average. With the new work share agreement, we are to now, in the new year, not old cases, but in the new year, close 75% of cases within 100 days. That is a tall task, but we are going to do our best. I'm not going to sit here and say it can't be done, but that is a tall task to close 100 housing cases. Close housing cases by 100 days, 75%. That is the new task we are given. We are also given the task of any cases that carried over from the last fiscal year. 95% of those cases, no matter how old they are, if they carried over from that year, should be closed within this fiscal year. So those are two measurements that are new, that were not part of FY25. So I just wanted to get that out there. We're going to do our best to make sure we reach that. We're going to work hard and diligently to do so. When this report was done, we had 70 housing cases. I think we have a couple of more since this report was completed and done. As far as employment is concerned, if you look, I don't know, was my report in that? Do they have the report? Okay, so as far as my report goes, you see 0. We have turned in employment cases, but not been approved yet. I'm assuming since the lockdown, they've not viewed it yet. But at the same time, and there's some of them probably didn't reach the 14 days anyway. But we are getting cases in. Staff is working hard. I want to take this time to congratulate and thank the staff for working hard. With numbers jumping up, they are working hard. They have questions. They're going at it. They're doing gone sites. they're doing everything. I even thank my two new staff for already jumping on board and investigating, asking me questions, learning, and going at it right in the door as soon as they came in the door. So I thank them for that. Really and truthfully, outside of that, I don't have anything else to report that I can think of. If you have any questions, please ask me. I'm ready and willing.
Any questions for Cedric? Cedric, it's a point of clarification on the first page of your report under housing. Says U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development cooperative agreement for fiscal year 24-25 runs from July 1, 25 to 26. Is that right?
No, that's wrong.
The previous year.
Should be 25 to 26 on that first part, and then the latter part, July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. That is correct, but yeah, that's the 4 should be a 5 and the 5 should be a 6.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, move to education and outreach 1.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners again. So before I begin, well, you have my report before you. I would just like to give a summary of the education and outreach intake unit. So we are 5 in the unit. We have 2 administrative specialists and 2 human rights specialists, and we are responsible for the intake where the aggrieved parties calls the office and might have an inquiry. So we make a determination if we can file a complaint of discrimination on their behalf. The other part that we do is to ensure that we do education outreach across the state of Kentucky. So I'm just going to point out 2 events that we had last month on September the 25th. We had our local Human Rights Commission roundtable. We had about 35 attendees. It was very productive. We had our partner, the EEOC. Unfortunately, we did not have anyone from HUD. And also, I think Ms. Cynthia Fox already mentioned about the unveiling of the 65th poster of the Gallery Kentuckians. So, Chair, thank you for being there and supporting the unveiling of the poster for Mr. John Johnson. I think it was great to see him, for him to receive the poster, and it was the family was very grateful. I believe that he has done, Mr. Johnson has done a lot of work for the Kentucky Civil Rights Movement in our state. I want to thank to the staff of the Education, Outreach, and Intake Unit for their hard work. As you may see, for last month, the staff wrote 62 complaints in total. That's a high number, and I know that the enforcement already is swamped with complaints. So we feel the pain they're facing through. We're going to do anything that we can in our part to make sure that they have all the information they need so they can meet that or support or assist with that new requirement that they have to investigate housing complaints within the 100 days. But beside that, I don't have anything new to report. I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Questions for Juan? At the round table, how many local commissions, you had the 35 participants, how many local commissions were represented in the round table that actually attended?
I don't have the number in front of me, but I would guess about 12 local human rights commissions represented, including from the Ashland Human Rights Commission, Commissioner Henry was part of the commission roundtable.
Okay. Well, very, very good. And I think that as we become more active around the state and more engaged and coordinated, maybe we can actually increase that number and really make some good things happen. And then with Reverend Johnson this morning, his report serving as a method by which we can have closer connection, closer working relationships. So that's very good. So thank you, Juan. Legal unit, Colt.
Good morning, everyone. You have my report. At the foot of the report, you'll notice after our last meeting, I was able to file the regulatory amendments with the regs compiler in Frankfurt. There are some dates for public hearings and comment at the end of the report. But business as usual. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take some.
Questions for Colt? All I would add, Colt, is the adverse decision in the Chelsea Nelson case. Getting an adverse opinion from Judge Beaton. Don't take it personally. You know, he was a judge and now still sitting on whether or not he's going to enforce the consent decree that was presented that the Justice Department has said to be withdrawn. So in terms of things that are, and I say this not personally, in terms of things that are important to our community in terms of wanting to advance things, he has not been a friend on the bench. So y'all can attribute that to Raymond Burse, okay? Thank you. Next, there are no committee reports. Any new business? Okay, and the next on our agenda, well now, Cynthia, you or Juan, you're going to introduce again our featured speaker for the day.
Juan will introduce him.
So as I mentioned earlier, we have another speaker. This is John Koehlinger, Director of the Kentucky Refugee Ministries. Happy to have him here to speak before you. He's a former co-worker. I worked for the Kentucky Refugee Ministries long time ago in the year 2000. So he has been a great supporter of the Kentucky Commission on Human Rights. He has spoken in our event. So again, it's great to have him here. I'll let him share information about himself, about the agency, and about the work that he does.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
You want me to?
Yes, that's fine right there.
Okay.
You feel comfortable.
Again, appreciate the invitation and honored to speak before the Human Rights Commission. Admire your critically important work and hope it can continue in a robust fashion. So I'm going to give, and Juan's offered me 15 minutes, which I hope is not too long, but to give not just an overview of KRM's work, but immigration in the state of Kentucky. And it is a complicated topic involving immigrants with different legal statuses, different impacts at this time. So I'm going to go in kind of summary fashion, talking about different groups and what's going on around the states. KRM, Kentucky Refugee Ministries, were founded in 1990 in Louisville. We have 97 opened a office in Lexington, and 2021 in Covington, where our cornerstone activity is refugee resettlement. And we've resettled refugees brought here legally on a permanent basis by our State Department under authorization by the president. And so I just want to give the definition of a refugee, because it'll kind of come back, reference it several times. A refugee is a person who has fled their country due to a well-founded fear of persecution for reasons of race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. So refugees overseas, they're in a country of asylum, they've had to flee, they can apply to go to a third country. They are screened overseas by U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. There are persecution claims. It's a long process involving multiple interviews, security screenings. They get medical treatments. They're supported in countries of asylum, refugee camps, or urban areas. And then a small minority are referred for resettlement in the United States. KRM gets the information, and other agencies like KRM gets the information that the refugees will travel to the United States 3 to 4 weeks in advance. We secure rental housing, collect donated furniture items, meet them at the airports, get them settled, enroll them for public benefits, register the children in school, teach them English, help them access medical care, provide cultural orientation. There's an orientation in the program toward early self-sufficiency. So we've been very successful in Kentucky in getting refugees who are able to work employed, mostly in entry-level jobs, within 6 months after arrival. And for a number of reasons, we involve many community groups, many faith-based groups, a lot of churches, but also synagogues, Muslim organizations. We do a lot of interfaith work. There's no religious messaging involved. We're primarily federally funded. We resettle refugees, whoever the State Department sends us, based on the urgency of their protection need. Some are professionals, highly educated. Many don't speak English, have suffered trauma, torture, sort of lack of supports, and have some, we work a lot with them, have lost family members to adjust and become self-sufficient. It's a humanitarian program, but it's really gotten a lot of popularity in Kentucky because we have different public schools, service providers, volunteers, employers. We've gotten tremendous feedback from employers. So refugees have been able to start in entry-level jobs. The educational attainment of second generation, their children, that's a common story. Mom and or dad working in a factory or one of the logistics distribution hubs, doing environmental services, their kids doing well in school, going on to college here in States. It's been a positive program, and Kentucky has gotten per capita a high number of refugees because the outcomes have been so positive. So just to give you a sense, in the last full year, and again, this starts in the White House. Each year, the president makes a determination, a ceiling for the number of refugees who are going to be admitted to the U.S. The last couple of years of the Biden administration, that was 100,000 nationally. And the last full year in fiscal year 24, ending October 30th, 2024, Kentucky received 2,900 refugees. KRM, we have offices in Louisville. That's our main office. We received 750. Our Lexington office, 500. Covington, 200. Catholic Charities of Louisville received about 600. There's Bowling Green Refugee Resettlement has been has good support there. Owensboro has a small office, so that's kind of it's had some statewide supports. Still, within the whole stream of immigrants coming to Kentucky or the U.S., the refugee program is small, and President Trump suspended the refugee program on inauguration day, January 20th. So we had gotten refugees during the first 3.5 months of this fiscal year, but hardly any, since then. There's a lawsuit challenging, the president's authority to suspend the program because it was created in 1980 by Congress, the Refugee Act of 1980, mandating that the U.S. have a refugee program. That's tied up in courts. So it is thought that once Congress returns from the shutdown, the Trump administration, they have issued, it's reported, a presidential determination for the refugee program this year, FY26. Whereas in the Biden years, the national admission ceiling was 100,000. This year, it's reported that there'll be 7,500 refugees admitted, a very low number. Whereas the last several years, we've received refugees from 26 different countries in Kentucky. Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo is the largest group, Syria, but I could name again quite a number of other countries. The 7,500 slots for refugee admissions are almost entirely going to be devoted to white South Africans, Afrikaners of Dutch descent. Many of them are large commercial farmers. They were kind of strong supporters and beneficiaries of the apartheid regime in South Africa. The process for screening and assessing and adjudicating someone's persecution claim as qualifying them for refugee status is a legal definition that I outlined. It's quite involved. The Afrikaners were given like a quickie overnight adjudication as refugees. They don't have a bona fide persecution claim. Note they're still in the country. They have land, they have businesses, they have civil rights. So it's kind of a sham to underline white grievance and the administration's agenda. So KRM, for the first time in 35 years, we are not going to be participating in that program, receiving these refugees. They're not really, so-called refugees from South Africa. And I think it's part of a broader move to completely dismantle the refugee program. Some of the overseas assistance that's maintaining refugees, as you know, has been defunded. And so it's a kind of a sad end to a program that's had a lot of community support and brought a lot of benefits to Kentucky. Quickly, a few other groups that KRM has worked with of immigrants. We refer to them as SIVs, Special Immigrant Visa Holders, primarily from Afghanistan. These are people who were affiliated with the U.S. mission or the U.S. military in Afghanistan, working as interpreters or other support, and they were targeted in Afghanistan for their U.S. affiliation. They have had access to the refugee program. Some other groups, the concept parole, it's a legal term meaning conditional temporary admission to the country if someone is paroled. As you may be aware, we've had steady Cuban migration particularly to Louisville since the mid-90s. It started off very small. Cubans are not refugees, but because of our relations with the Castro regime, they were kind of treated as de facto refugees, given some preferential admission. And so we started off with kind of a small year-on-year Cuban resettlement. In recent years, there have been some harshly repressed, in 2021, political protests in Cuba, kind of economic mismanagement, scarcity. There's been a very significant number of Cubans coming to the United States. And KRM, we've received 15,000 in the past 3 years. Catholic Charities, comparable number. So we've added 30,000 Cubans who've been paroled in to an already sizable Cuban American community in Louisville. I mentioned parole as temporary. Cubans have, again, a special provision. It's the Cuban Adjustment Act, passed by Congress in the 60s. A Cuban who's here with legal status for a year can apply for permanent residence. So Cubans can transfer parole into a permanent status. And I think our Cuban community in Louisville has distinguished itself with, employment and home ownership, and it's a kind of a growing community, small business, of course, restaurants, bodegas, other. Also KRM, particularly in the Lexington, Nicholasville area, we did receive some Ukrainians who were also admitted under humanitarian parole after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. I want to, and lastly, some Haitians have also been paroled in recent years. Kind of on a federal level, there was like a Cuban Haitian program, but Haitians were discriminated against, and a lot of Cubans were paroled in, but very few Haitians. But with kind of the humanitarian catastrophe in Haiti, some Haitians have come in and received services from KRM and other agencies. I want to switch now to the border. And during the first Trump administration, there was a significant number of Central American migrants who were coming to the U.S. southwestern border, and going back to the Refugee Act of 1980, that also codified into U.S. law the right of people to present themselves at a U.S. border and apply for asylum, to say, I can't go back to my country because I would fear, persecution. And the same criteria, it has to follow race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. So our attorneys at the time, we argued and won and didn't win some asylum cases for Central Americans on the grounds. Most of them were fleeing gang violence, and if they or their children didn't go along with recruitment to a gang, they could be harmed, and some extortion of small businesses. So when people come to the border and articulate, a fear of persecution, if they return, they are admitted to the U.S. in most cases, but they're subject to removal. They're not paroled in, they're subject to removal. And, over time, they will have an asylum hearing. The case will be adjudicated whether they meet that same kind of refugee asylum persecution claim. And if not, they could be removed from the country. But during, the number of asylum seekers coming to the border, increased during the first Trump administration. During the Biden administration, it kind of went up to over 2 million a year. And so asylum is legally, it's a high threshold. Approval rates are, range between 3 to 30%. It's hard to get asylum, but there's such a backlog that many asylum seekers, their cases didn't come up for a hearing for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. So in the meantime, they had employment authorization. They were able to work, support their families. So as you may know, and Juan knows probably better than anybody in the States, we have Central Americans, Mexicans, different, those are the main groups working in our equine, our horse industry, in agriculture, in construction, in environmental services, and sorts of, all sorts of doing jobs, food processing. They're subject to removal. So depending on your, parlance, undocumented, those when people talk about, who are kind of hostile to immigrants, illegal immigrants, people who came here, they were admitted, but didn't have some permanent legal status or even conditional legal status. So the Trump administration this time has abruptly halted the right to apply for asylum. At the border, you're not able to articulate a claim for asylum. You're not admitted subject to removal for a further asylum adjudication some years down the line. You simply are not admitted to the country. The border is sealed. There's been some militarization of the border. So that is, technically a violation of, the right to apply for asylum. This is where, when there's talk of mass deportation, it's, and I can tell you, just not to backtrack, but it is complicated. What happened under the Biden administration was you had Central American, Mexican seeking asylum and some, economic migrants seeking, work. But they were even surpassed in number by people coming from Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua, three kind of failed, socialist, kind of left-wing kind of dictatorships, both impoverishment and some political persecution if you spoke out from those three countries, and Haiti. So that contributed asylum seekers from those countries on top of other, Central Americans to the kind of crush at the border. So near the end, the Biden administration, understanding it was a political liability, did impose more stringent enforcement at the border, admitting fewer people, but they carved out some special programs for Cubans, Venezuelans, Nicaraguans, and Haitians to enter the country. And some of those were, bused from border states to, to democratic cities. And you saw that. So that this kind of migrants in sleeping outside in encampments. So that's, kind of the history on that. So not only has the Trump administration sealed the border, they have been firing immigration judges because they don't want any ultimate adjudication of these cases. And they've been issuing guidance that, in effect, asylum cases can be dismissed without a hearing, which people think is contrary to legal precedent. They just want to kind of clear the asylum docket and deport en masse these immigrants who haven't secured legal status. And then there were significant numbers of Cubans and Haitians who had parole, and Venezuelans. They had a conditional approval to be here. The Trump administration summarily revoked their parole and also the employment authorization attached to their parole. So I know in Louisville and elsewhere, we had many Cubans and Haitians who were working. They all went to work and were doing well in their jobs and self-supporting in a very short matter. They had their parole, which means their legal status revoked, their employment authorization revoked. So many companies had to let go of their Cuban and Haitian employees. And now they join Central Americans, Mexicans, any other one subject to approval, subject to removal. ICE could pick them up and remove them from the country. And there's some new policies regarding expedited removal. If ICE would encounter somebody on the street who cannot prove, doesn't have paperwork on them, proving a continuous presence in the US for 2 years, they can be removed from the country without a hearing before an immigration judge. So Kentucky has not been yet hugely impacted by immigration enforcement. In fact, the number of ICE arrests has been on the low side nationally. The increase, just to give you a sense, this is just from the data samples that exist in January through July 2025, there have been 1,300 ICE arrests in Kentucky. The previous year, January to July 24, this would be under Biden, there were 900 arrests. New York Times article, Kentucky had the lowest increase in ICE arrests of all 50 states. We only had, to start the administration, 27 ICE officers statewide. So the ICE, raids, the personnel, has been a low, there have been some activity, but it's low comparatively. But this is changing rapidly. Is under the One Big Beautiful Bill. There have been $45 billion for immigration detention appropriated, $29.9 million for immigration enforcement. So ICE is hiring aggressively. The GSA, General Government Services Administration, has a bid out for ICE office space in Louisville. So it's early stages. You're going to see more ICE activity in Kentucky as well as nationally. A couple of final thoughts are things. In Kentucky, many local jurisdictions, police departments have been signing 287G agreements. That's where local law enforcement will be kind of deputized. They'll receive some training and funding from ICE DHS to participate in immigration enforcement. Most of the immigration enforcement has been around the courts, people, people convicted of crimes. Of course, in Louisville, you may have seen, Louisville doesn't have a 287G LMPD with ICE, but Mayor Greenberg, under duress, agreed to honor ICE detainers. That is to hold people in Metro Corrections for 48 hours after their release. If they're undocumented, and ICE, a detainer is a request by ICE, hold this person, we want them in custody. So already in the 2 months since that's been in effect, there's been, last year, there were 180 ICE detainers issued. In the last 2 months, there have been 80. The Courier Journal had an excellent article 2 days ago showing that many of the immigrants who were picked up by ICE on a detainer, they had committed low-level crimes like traffic violations. Keep in mind, they haven't had benefit of a trial, they haven't had due process on the criminal side. But if you're in ICE custody, there's another policy. There's no eligibility for bond. So there will be no due process. You will be put in detention, probably moved around quite quickly. I know of one case that ICE arrest in Louisville. They went to Kenton County Jail. They went to Indiana. Then they went to Louisiana. Louisiana is kind of a staging ground. There are a lot of immigration detention facilities there toward removal, but I've heard people in Kentucky talk about this, having family members picked up by ICE. You cannot find them, or your attorney cannot find them. So I think it's, I'll end there. I think it's, a tragedy for the state in terms of immigrants broadly have brought in terms of, not to mention the humanitarian welcome and protection to rebuild their lives here, but they've contributed to our workforce development. There's so many immigrant and refugee students represented on our community colleges, four-year colleges. And then I think you can see some of the issues kind of discussed in relation to, Breonna Taylor case or George Floyd, these issues of policing, about excessive use of force, racial profiling, not using de-escalation. You can see what's happening in cities like Chicago and elsewhere. The people who are being recruited for ICE, they are escalating, not de-escalating. They're being quite aggressive in their enforcement actions and kind of working in partnership with local police departments in Kentucky. There's so many 287G agreements that, you know, that environment, it affects a lot of people. And of course, we have many immigrants here who are permanent residents, who are citizens, and, you know, some of them have been picked up in some of these enforcement actions. So that is the, you know, the overview. I'm sorry to go long, but it is somewhat segmented, but it's early stages, but that's what we're seeing.
Any questions?
Here's one numbers question. You said in Biden's last year, the number was 100,000.
Yes.
Did we hit that number?
Actually, I'm sorry, the ceiling was 125,000, 100,000 were brought in.
The ceiling was 125 and we didn't hit.
Yeah, yes, so.
Very good, that's all.
Any other questions? Okay,
Just
hearing
like to
none.
ask,
Thank you for the presentation. Go ahead, Frank.
Chair Burts, I would like to ask, hearing this report, what are thoughts on the role of the commission, and especially seeing Sana is going to be leaving us going and is carrying with her the passion of the commission. I know I've had a lot of conversations, a lot of frustrations about ICE, and just a nervousness that I feel for the people who are suffering with this. And it just seems like, you know, that what really troubled me was to hear about the elimination of judges that would try these cases, then the intensive hiring that ICE is charged to do. You know, I'm just wondering if there's such a thing, those that attended the conference in Seattle, is there such a thing as a commissions across the country filing a class action lawsuit or something, all of the human rights commissions joining together across 50 states to, and I know I'm thinking crazy, but it just seems like there should be some major statement made that goes on record concerning this issue, the invasion into our states, into our cities, red, blue cities, whatever the differentiation is of the aggressiveness. It just seems like we have a serious problem. And I just personally struggle with feeling a sense of helplessness that, you know, I can't, what I want to do something every time you hear about this, and we can't individually do it, but is there some collective thought that hearing this report, we could, as a commission, think about?
If I could offer just very briefly something pertinent to the Human Rights Commission, I think. Give an example. GE Appliance Park was our major employer, refugees, Cubans, and many of those Cubans who lost their parole and EADs were let go. But and they have attorneys, and so they followed a good process for assessing who has employment authorization. But I know you handle a lot of employment discrimination cases. We've seen some like anecdotal reluctance of employers. There have been some I-9 audits where Homeland Security Investigations comes in and asks to see all the hiring documentation. So some employers, I think, are just going to say, we don't want to hire immigrants because we don't know if they're legal or authorized to work or not, and if it could change. And so it's going to be hard for the, if such claims arise for the Human Rights Commission, is this a legitimate authorization documentation issue, or is this kind of a discriminatory action? And the same with housing. We were very heavily involved in finding rental, helping immigrants find rental housing, not so much with the stoppage of arrivals, but assessing that. We've had plenty of landlords eager to rent, and then they find out it's a refugee from Congo. No, sorry, it's taken. Those kind of, I think there's some license in people's minds for housing discrimination, but it's up to the investigators to kind of determine the ultimate cause of it.
Do y'all want us to respond? I want to respond.
Was there a question? I'm having a tough time hearing the discussion that's going on in the room. Our sound system isn't the greatest. I don't know whether other folks online are having the same issue I'm having. We cannot hear clearly what's being said. It's in and out. And then, like Cedric, where you sitting, when you turn to your left to talk to the people at the head table, we cannot barely hear you. So
sorry about that. I was asking from said that y'all want a response from us regarding what he talked about in relation to cases that could come and stem from this situation, even though it's not directly at that time the federal government doing it, but it's employers being reluctant to hire, or housing being reluctant to give housing to those who possibly are refugees, or in the situation that's going on right now. I didn't know if y'all wanted us to respond or not to that.
it's really not certain. I guess to Commissioner Smith's question, I guess I turned to Cynthia, is that in terms of human rights organizations across the country, is there any ongoing communications among those organizations or on a regional basis in regards to any role or that they may be able to take?
Right now that I'm thinking of right now, we have IORA and we have NIRA that's across the country. We have not received a lot of information or correspondence going back and forth regarding these issues. We have seen some concerns, but they're usually individualized by state and or by individual cities. But as a group, a collective, I haven't seen anything. Juan, have you seen anything? We haven't seen anything that there's been any collective effort to address this.
No, I have not heard or received anything, but one thing I'm aware of it, that the local human rights commissions are concerned and they have expressed interest if there's anything that we can do as a network that we can. If there's anything we can do, I guess that's the question. And I think that's still a question that needs to be.
But we do have, sorry to.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, that's fine. I think again, it's something that we need to, I guess, discuss and see what we can do as a commission.
And I think what one of the things that Juan and his intake staff may be seeing is that we are seeing an uptick in discrimination cases, in that people may feel, at least the allegations are, that people may feel that it's okay to discriminate on the basis of race or national origin at this time. So, we may be seeing more of that.
Well, I encourage anyone who feels that the person has been denied employment or housing because the perception that he or she may not have documents, but been denied because who they are, again, they can contact us and make a determination if we can establish prima facie for us to file a complaint on their behalf.
Well, I don't know if you followed in California, there was litigation brought because ICE agents in California were in fact profiling folks based on their appearance and all that. Judge issued an injunction prohibiting that, and our U.S. Supreme Court, on their shadow docket, overturned that. So they have the legal environment has legitimized some of the profiling that is in fact taking place. And I think we're living in an environment where people are afraid to create a record that can be used against them. And the whole thing is an atmosphere of fear. Where it's going is anybody's guess. We used to be, in my opinion, a country where the rule of law prevail, and there's real questions of whether or not that will take place. But again, people are not willing to stand up and do anything. You talk back to our presenter talked about the G appliances and the I-9 audits, in terms of our, businesses and individuals fear what may happen, and as a result of that, are not willing to do what they would do in ordinary circumstances. And so I'm not certain how much of what we can do, particularly in the reddest of red states, in terms of making some difference and impact. I think we can make our voice heard, present data and information, but until we've got a Supreme Court or a Congress that is willing to stand up to the overreaching that is taking place, we're in some pretty perilous times.
I would agree with you wholeheartedly. There is a lot of fear present with people, the sense of being overwhelmed. And because of rulings like the court did with the California case, there's a sense of almost operating from a position of paralysis. I agree with Dr. Smith. As a commission nationwide, somewhere sooner or later, somebody's got to take a stand and come together. And I believe that if persons, if there's some entity that's willing to do that, others will come from the shadows and join in that work. Because there's a sense of fear I haven't seen in this country since the 1960s and 70s.
Yeah.
And so it involves not just black, white, but everybody who is not part of the status quo. And unless there is a collective effort to offset that, only God knows where we're going to end up here in the next 4 years. I was about to say 20 years, but the next 4 years.
Yeah. So I guess what I would ask is Cynthia and the staff, do some brainstorming. Check with your colleagues in the adjoining states to see where they are, and maybe let's collectively see what people are thinking. I know that people are leery of creating documents that people can in fact find and trace back, but some phone calls in terms of getting some things, and maybe this is something we put on our agenda for a specific discussion at our next commission meeting. Let's proceed that way. Are there any other ideas or suggestions from anyone?
Well, I want to get Reverend Johnson spoke from Henderson, and having attended the national conference, even our local human rights commissions throughout the state being engaged in this, and recognizing what you've said about Kentucky. This is, I feel that if there is some kind of a groundswell approach, and if we could kind of ignite it, and it gets so big or take on so many discussions, they might even forget that Raymond Burse was the chair that started it. But seriously, I just feel like we are at it. it's getting out of hand, and sometimes the tool that people least think about is the tool that does the packs the punch. And I just wondered if, since we're talking about human rights, I just wondered, and I look at Rick and see deals with children all the time, and thinking about these families and all of this stuff that is happening. What if at the end of this, it would be a proud statement to say that Kentucky, a red state, its commission was the leader in pulling folks together to raise a concern or approach to this, and maybe some attorneys, as Reverend Gaines mentioned, maybe some attorneys would come up to the surface to volunteer and to help uh, deal with some of these issues. But I just feel like we've got to to engage things that seem dormant. Maybe this is a time to bring them, as we've been talking about the role of this commission. Maybe this is one of the areas that we could feel our role again, and be a leader, become a leading force, um, stimulating. So I just want to share that with the staff, as Dr. Versus mentioned. Maybe as you're talking or thinking, if we thought on that level, uh, who knows what could come from this. But I want to thank our presenter for sharing these details with us, taking the time. And I just had to wrestle with a sense of anxiety as you talked, feeling for those persons. You talked about Kentucky, then going to Indiana, going to Louisiana. What if that were me?
Mhm.
What if that were me and nobody could find me? Nobody could fight for me. And I would hate to be in that situation and feel like nobody cared.
Well, just
Can I?
just think in terms of you talking about the sensitivity around Frank being deported from the U.S. to a country and a community that you never lived in, you never had any association with. I mean, what kind of I got to agree with the Pope when he asked the question: is what kind of Christianity are we practicing, or what's going on? So,
Right.
it's something that
Mr.
we have.
Director Burst, can I say something? I know I'm just a guest,
Please
but
go ahead. Go ahead.
I know from attending the conference last week, IORA in Anchorage, a lot of these questions, certainly in the board meeting, was raised. Now, what was said in every session that I can't speak to. Dr. Alicia Warren is the IORA president, the international. She's coming up on her last term. And Director Fox, I think you may have her contact. If not, let me know. I can surely get that, send you that to her, along with, and maybe she can come and address the Kentucky board. She is the director of the Missouri Human Rights, along with our international agency as well too, in her extensive travel. So these same concerns and discussions came up last week. I do know that a couple of issues were pulled off of the table, certainly from Illinois, that they had asked that the organization look, review, and discuss. A couple of issues were discussed and debated, and then they were pulled back off of the table pending, because it had some language in there pertaining to HUD. So I think the overall consensus was from the agency as a whole, just to table it or pull it off the table until more investigation was done, or HUD kind of responds to some of the concerns and stuff. So I can only speak to that. Like I said, I didn't attend every session, and I wasn't in the, I'm not a part of the executive board, so I can't say what was specifically said in the executive board. But I know that Dr. Warren, who's the president, would welcome that conversation. I think speaking on behalf of the international agency, because we had representatives from Hawaii, we had Guam was present in the house along with Alaska. We even had Switzerland Human Rights Agency on Zoom that did some training for us. So the challenge is real, the struggles is real, and the concerns are certainly real for all that were representative around the country here last week in what's just being said right there. But Director Fox, I'll send you her email address along with she shared her cell phone number, and then maybe that's a discussion you can reach out and have with her. Not telling you what to do, but I'll just send that to you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Well, that's worth the discussion to find out what the discussion was at the international, and any ideas are floating around is once we collect that, let's say, for our November meeting, that will become the primary agenda item. And similarly, if people have any ideas or suggestions that the commission of action, the commission can do or whatever, is to send those to Cynthia and the staff and let them compile it into something that we can discuss at the next meeting and decide where we go from now. But that, there are legitimate concerns out there. And the question is, what role can we play if we can play a role? So, okay, any other questions for our presenter? Okay, hearing none. Well, let me say thank you again for your presentation and the information that you provided. The only thing I can say is, your presentation was great, but you've stolen one of our good staff members, and I'm not a happy camper today, but I know she will do well for you, so we'll do that. Okay. Moving right along, our next commission meetings is November the 20th. We're meeting in Louisville. So mark your calendars for that. Is there any other matter that needs to come before this body today? Hearing none, if some other business come before the meeting, we will adjourn this meeting by consensus. Thank you all. Thank you for your time in doing that. And Cynthia and Brandon, we need to work on the sound system in the room. I'm glad I had the opportunity not to be in the room today, because I now know what people who've been doing it online have been experiencing. So we got some work to do. We need more microphones around the room. Okay. Well, thank you all. And again, Reverend Gaines, welcome. And we're looking forward to working with you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks a lot. We're adjourned.
Thank you again.
Really.
I just wanted to